Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I think that this might be one of the first times I've really put my face on this channel, so hi there. What I wanted to talk to you about today is a little uncomfortable for me because I never wanted to create an identity around cancer and tumours and everything. I'm not the type of person to talk about this openly to anybody, but I have been of the mindset lately of turning poison into medicine. And if I can help somebody that might be going through something similar in any way, even if it's just one person, I'm happy to put my discomfort aside and talk about it. So here I am. Diagnosis of any kind is really a lot to process. I like to think of cancer as like a bushfire, and it just comes into your life always unexpectedly and burns everything. It burns it all down, and it's devastating, but at the same time, I like to think of the fact that eucalyptus trees actually have seeds that only high temperatures can release. So, bushfires are a part of life, and it's actually necessary for the forest to regenerate and grow something new. So, I like to think of cancer like a bushfire. And the one thing that helped me get through the bushfire was my journals. And I wanted to show you this whole pile here of journals is what got me through this diagnosis. So I want to first say I'm fine now and I'm in a sort of surveillance mode, and I'm very grateful and lucky to be now in this position. But if you were in the midst of it, I wanted to talk about my experience with journaling and how it could also help you too. Journaling ultimately helped me do 6 different things, and I had to do my own journal session around this topic and to think about what was it specifically that journaling helped me with. So I've whittled it down to 6 main things that it helped me with that I wanted to talk to you about. The first thing is that I feel like it helped me release fear. By getting all of these scary thoughts out of your head and onto a page makes things feel a little bit more, you tend to feel a little bit more realistic about them and going, okay, this is my fear, here it is, I can acknowledge it and say, yes, this is a possibility, but what else is also true? You need to be able to release that. And, you know, sometimes talking to family or friends about it doesn't always give you sometimes don't need to hear anything back. You just need to vent and to talk about it and even say the things that are even too scary to even say to your partner. Sometimes these thoughts are very messy and unrefined and complicated. And I think sometimes it's best to be able to just put it on a page without telling anybody and let it out. I think a lot of people have a huge fear of death and mortality, and it's something that we don't really like to think about. So we just sort of like put it in the back corner of our mind until you're dealt with something like this that forces you to look at it and come to terms with it. And I will say that these feelings come up regardless of how serious a diagnosis you actually have. It doesn't really matter. It's about like, you know, I think everybody has this like worst case scenario that they have in their head when they first find out that something is wrong, but they might not have like an official diagnosis yet. So Just know, put your feelings down. They're all okay. And it's necessary to actually look and see that dark side of whatever you're going through too. Number two is it helped me in learning new things. And it was like my companion when I was going through a huge phase of learning new things about myself and just about the world and particular topics. Like for me, I really went down a rabbit hole of psychology and spirituality, and there was just a range, a big range of topics, even like manifestation and what that means as well. And I would read books and write down all of the notes in my journal so I could go back to it. And then I would elaborate even more on the topics and the questions that it would raise as I was reading it. So some of my journals are purely just book notes. So that's a major way that I learn, is actually by writing things down as well. So that's another way that journaling helped me throughout this process. Number three is it helps me heal. And that's quite a broad subject and a broad topic of like, what does that mean to heal? And I'm talking more psychologically and emotionally. It made me reevaluate every part of my life, really. It made me think about all the things that I was doing and whether I really wanted to do them. And who was I and who was I before just trying to fit society's expectations of me. You know, I found out for me a lot of what I enjoyed in life and the person that I really deep down knew that I was pushed aside because that wasn't the definition of success. That's not going to make me the money. I had to go back to the beginning and figure out what was truly important to me to be doing in my life. I did a lot of inner child work, and I did a lot of work on my beliefs and trying to move these things to where I wanted to be, the person that I really truly wanted to become. So there are a lot of pages in all of this where I'm literally just analyzing myself and recording my thoughts and analyzing my thoughts and wondering, where did those thoughts come from? And going back to, you know, me as a child and what I was like and what experiences I went through that's actually fed into the person that I became. That is not an easy process, and I think that I went in and out of that because it's so heavy and it's exhausting, to be quite honest. And I would have times where I would get so sick of it and so bogged down in it and feel so, to be honest, quite low, working through all of those things, that I sometimes had to step away and, work on more of the fun and lighter sides. So when I could handle it, I did it. Also, in reconnecting to my inner child, I feel like I discovered what me as a child used to love. And one of those things was like stickers and journaling, and not even necessarily journaling, but I loved stationery. I loved drawing. I loved presenting things, presenting information. And yeah, so at this point in my life, even when I went through it, I had a huge sticker book that I never used. And I used to collect stickers and never actually use them. And this journaling process helped me in getting the courage to actually use them and be playful and be fun and actually live, in that joy of, what younger Susie would have loved to have done. It's like, just do it. Use the stickers, use the pens, be free. The fourth thing that journaling helped me do was to make time for myself. And I also have my husband to thank for this as well, because without him, I had a very young child at the time that I went through all of this. And because of him and my journals, I was able to carve out time that is purely just for me. And I still remember waking up at 5 a.m. and lighting a candle and journaling and having some sacred time that was, I knew, was just for me, and prioritizing myself and my feelings. And I think that that also helped me in realizing that I am worthy of that as well. It was also just a big part of having self-care, and journaling was my self-care. And I sometimes feel like I had to do it in order for me to show up in my everyday life. Otherwise, I would have fallen apart. So it was, yes, a big part of my self-care and self-worth, self-love to myself. The fifth thing that I think that it helped me to do was to take a new perspective on my experiences. And I think after you pour your heart out and you get out your deepest, darkest fears, you can look at it for what it truly is and realize there are actually multiple ways and perspectives that you can take on a situation. And it was up to me to actually decide which one of those perspectives that I wanted to believe. Any situation that pops up in your life gives you an opportunity of the way that you would like to tell that story. And I thought about it many times as to how I wanted to tell this story of cancer and a tumor in my life and what it was going to mean to me. I had to retell this story to myself that made sense, and that it was something that I could believe and hold on to and would help me through the recovery process. I think this gives me a sense of empowerment to know that I can choose the meaning of anything that happens into my life. Maybe the things that I thought was awful might be there to teach me something, and the only thing that makes it awful was just me saying it is. It doesn't have to. And I think as you take time to think about all the positive things that it actually gives you, you can choose to take a different perspective on an experience that has happened in your life. Number 6, the last thing, is I think how it managed to elevate my emotions. So yes, I talked about before in like pouring out all of your deepest, darkest fears, and that the inner child work brought me down pretty low at times. But I also intermixed practices that would elevate my feelings, elevate my frequency, and things like gratitude and savoring the experiences that I have and the positive things that are in my life. I also used to do future journaling, which is basically writing down as if I'm in the future and the things that I would like to happen. So I would talk about times when none of the cancer stuff was in my life and what my life actually looked like. And I would write gratitude in from the future as well. And I would sometimes even intermix that in my current gratitude practice. So my mind can't tell the difference between what's truly happening in my life and what I want to happen in my life. Journaling opened up a new world for me in terms of inviting in the creative parts of who I am. I was able to start, and I might put some screenshots on this screen. Over time, I started adding washi tape, and I started adding pictures of my family and all the things that I did that I really loved. I got more and more creative over the years that I stumbled across like people that were doing creative journaling and artistic practices, and it made it feel, it just felt like me. I think that when you go through something that threatens to take everything away from you, you really quickly learn to get to the heart of like, who are you? What do you want this life to be? And start living it. We ain't got time to muck around here. And that's ultimately what has led me here, and actually filming, putting my things on, my videos on YouTube and putting myself out there, believing in myself. And I think it gets to a point where what's the point of waiting? That's how I feel. So I am so grateful for all of my journals, all the time and energy that I spent in pouring my heart and feelings out on a page. And I encourage you, if you're going through something difficult right now, whether it be cancer or whether it be something else, it could be the loss of a loved one, it could be losing a job or anything like that. I think that we can always take it as a redirection, and let's see where it leads you. Let's see what the other perspectives are that you could take. And a good way to do that is by journaling. So I hope this helped you, and I hope that I made sense. It's really hard sometimes to get out your true feelings and make that truly understood by another person. So I hope I managed to do that. But if you have any questions or if this struck you in any way, please comment down below and let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And I don't think that I'll be talking about this regularly on my channel, but I do creative journaling. So if you are sort of into that, please follow along. Yeah, I just wanted to share this part of myself in the hopes that it might help or improve the life of somebody else. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.